This episode of the NFL show on the S.O.S podcast network brought to you by the one, the only first round collectibles. Right now with our promo code SPORTS10, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire first round collectible store. The ongoing sale that I've been going on and on and on about for the last year is finally over. However, they have a brand new sale on WWE, WWF cards specifically. 25% off selected cards at the first round collectibles store. WWE, WWF, including a 1995 Stone Cold Steve Austin. Again, that's 25% off. And with our promo code SPORTS10, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but an additional 10% to the 25% off you get on all of the selected wrestling cards. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order and an extra 10% off the 25% off you get in the WWE WWF sale. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com. Promo code SPORTS10. That's firstroundcollectibles.com. Promo code SPORTS10. And as always, Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. We appreciate them so much for having us on board. Football playoffs, we're getting closer and closer to the Super Bowl, closer and closer to the draft, closer and closer to the summer. Total Apex Sports has you covered. First pitch is 65 days away now. Pitchers and catchers will be reporting in the next couple of weeks. Hockey, basketball, full swing, all of that. Total Apex Sports has you covered. Go to Total Apex Sports and Total Apex Media. Now, on with the show. Welcome to the NFL show on the Sports Podcast Network. I am Mark Sauter. He is Java Joe, and we are back after a terrific week end of football. Lots of drama, as always. Lots to talk about, as always. And we'll get to all of it in one moment. But first, again, as always, Joe, how we feeling on a football Tuesday today? It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, no, pretty good. We had an awesome national championship last night. Shout out to the Hoosiers, who are actually doing things on the football field now, as opposed to the basketball court where they usually do their damage. So shout out to them. I'm huge Signetti fan since James Madison, and the guy's a dog. And now, you know what? His most famous quote is like, "I win, Google me." Now, when they Google him, they'll see national champion. So that's pretty cool to have on your Google search when your name comes up.
Yeah, it's a great story, and I mean, I don't watch a ton of college football. As I was telling you pre-show, we were talking a little bit about it. I watch so much hockey and so much football that I cannot put my wife through another day, full day of sports. Just my personality. If I'm gonna watch one college football game, I'm gonna watch them all. So I'll watch a big game. I'll watch some of the playoffs, but I do always watch the championship game. And I was watching the Leaf game last night, and I even forgot it was on. But it looked like a great game. And I just love some new blood, man. It's just every year it's the same teams in college football, it feels like. And to have some fresh blood is super refreshing. All right, Joe. We got lots to talk about, of course, Buffalo, the aftermath in Buffalo, which unfortunately for the winners of the weekend, I feel like the aftermath in Buffalo is the biggest kind of storyline. I think New England, after, 5 long years of not being good, are already back. That is annoying yet amazing. And there's lots of other great storylines heading into championship weekend. I do feel like the Buffalo story has to kind of take the cake, at least for me. And being in Toronto, predominantly Buffalo Bills country up here, is certainly a hot talking point. However, I want to run a conversation by you, something that I've been thinking about, and I want to know if this has happened to you in any point in time. You've been a sports fan for a long time. We're roughly the same age. We've watched sports our whole lives, and I want to know if this has happened to you. So, it has been today's Tuesday. So it has been 9 days since the Philadelphia, and this is a fully self-indulgent, like, for me to bring this up at the top of the show is a completely like absorbed thing to do, but I have no problem doing it. It's been 9 days since the Philadelphia Eagles lost to the San Francisco 49ers. And on Saturday night, we watched the Niners get curb stomped by the Seahawks, which kind of made me even more angry, and I think made a lot of Eagles fans even more angry. Now, I'm not from Philadelphia, okay? I've said this on the show before. I've been an Eagles fan for like 26 years. I'm a diehard fan. I know I'm not from Philly, but I live and I die with this team. When they lose, I'm angry for days, for a week, until the next game. When they lose in the playoffs, I'm angry and upset and depressed for months. Like it weighs on me. It hurts me. We talked about this last week when they lost to the Niners. I was angry. I was upset. But that's kind of where it ended. Like, it didn't really linger like it usually does. Now, I don't know if it's because what we watched that game against the Niners, if that's because that's what we've watched for the last like 3 months. So was I kind of like prepared, was I like prepared for it this whole time? I don't know, but it didn't really sting and last as long as it usually does. Usually it's hard for me to watch playoff football after the Eagles get eliminated. I do it, but it's hard. It stings. It doesn't have that same taste. It doesn't have that same pleasure. That wasn't the case this weekend at all. And I was thinking about it, and I was kind of mulling over it in my head, and I was like, why is that the case? Why am I not as affected this year like I am in other years? And it dawned on me as I was listening to some baseball content, listening to some free agent content, getting ready for baseball season here in like a month. Spring training starts in like 5 minutes. It's crazy how quickly it comes. And it dawned on me. And again, I'm a Toronto sports fan who is a huge Philadelphia fan. I understand this is not going to be the same for any Eagles fans except for me. I think that the Blue Jays broke me. I think that World Series loss broke me as a fan. I think like I have never experienced anything in my sport life as excruciating as 1 out away, or was it 2 outs away from the World Series? The drama of that entire World Series, the 18 innings and all the extra innings involved, including Game 7, I don't think I have ever, even in Game 7, in the extra innings, 2 men on base, bases like just the drama of that series and what we as a city went through to lose. I think it broke me as a fan. I think I'm broken. I think I'm numb almost. And I was curious, you as a sports fan, a big sports fan of every sport, have you experienced any moment losing that has affected the way that you cheer for other sports? Because I certainly, even the Leafs, dude, like it's been an up and down season for the Leafs. Maybe by the time the playoffs come around, I'll be all better. And I also cover the sport, so it's a little bit like I'm still a fan, but it's a little bit different. But is there anything in your sporting life, losing wise, that has affected the way that you root for other sports or experience losing in other sports? Because I think I'm broken.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge turn the page guy. You know, I go through my 5 stages of grief, and once I hit stage 5, acceptance,
Yeah.
I'm on to the next thing. Um, I'll give you an example. When the Yankees missed out on Soto last year, before in the off season, um, I had already moved on to the Knicks. Like I was on to the Knicks stretch run in the second half of the regular season. You know, I was already I had already moved on mentally to the next thing. It's the way the calendar works, it actually really just allows you to move on very quickly, at least for someone like me who's an enjoyer of all the sports. Because of how the calendar is set up, football and basketball are happening simultaneously. So it's like something bad happens to my Giants. It's like, all right, well, it's on to the Knicks. Like it's on to the Knicks. And then if something bad is going down with the Knicks or whatever, it's like, you know what? It's all good. Yankees are playing. Everything's fine. And then we repeat the cycle because by the time the Yankees are done, the Giants are back on the field. So it's like I never have to sit and marinate in any kind of stench that my team has decided to smell over my and bask in my environment long enough because it's on to the next thing. It's on to the next thing. And I really honestly I think the sports calendar for that. I think it's the sports calendar to allow me to have something to move on to when someone's failed me.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna wallow in my self-pity and claim the fact that I'm willing to debate what's the most gut-wrenching loss in sporting history and put that Jays World Series loss in there somewhere. I'm not saying it's the worst, but it has to be ranked somewhere close to the top, and I'll just wallow in it because that's what I do. I hold grudges. I don't let things go. I just let it eat me alive and ruin my life, and that's just how I'm gonna roll. So that's it. All right, moving on to what transpired last weekend. We are gonna get into new, coaching developments, new coaching hires. We talked about, I mean, you specifically talked about how you wanted Harbaugh. The next morning after our show, you got Harbaugh. So we can talk about that. I think the rumors started coming out, the reporting started coming out after our show that night, and then the next morning it was confirmed. So we can talk about that, and we'll talk about Salah heading to the Titans, amongst other hirings in the NFL. But first, let's talk about what happened over the weekend, man. And I think it. I'm sorry, like I said, first of all, congratulations to all the winners. Congratulations to Denver, to New England, to Seattle, and to Los Angeles. We're going to talk about you. We're going to celebrate you. I think what happened in Buffalo, I mean, it was in Denver. We all know what I mean. What happened to the Buffalo Bills, I just think it has to be the main talking point here. And of course, if you're from one of these cities, that has a team that's still playing, you're going to disagree with me. But in the context of like the NFL, there's no boogeyman, right? There's no Patty Mahomes. There's no Joe Burrow. There's no Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen, if not the most talented quarterback in the league, certainly the most talented quarterback in the playoffs. And I'm not saying better Matt Stafford, talk about it, whatever. I'm just saying there's no one more talented than this guy who is playing this postseason. And this is going to kind of meld with the McDermott conversation. We're going to kind of go, it's going to be together, because the fact of the matter is, I said it, you said it, a million shows across the continent said it. If the Bills were going to win the Super Bowl, Josh Allen had to be heroic for 4 games. The funny part of this is the defense has been much maligned all season. They put Josh Allen in a position to win that football game. They weren't perfect. They didn't make stops at certain points. The fact of the matter here is that Josh Allen didn't get the job done. And I find it, we talked about it on this show. I threw this out about McDermott getting fired. I didn't say he should or shouldn't. That has to be a conversation. He ended up getting fired. What is frustrating to me is that typically these conversations in the postseason, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the most part, it's the team or the coaching staff let Josh Allen down. That's typically the conversation here. And the fact of the matter is that the ball was in Josh Allen's hands with a chance to win the football game. And you can say he didn't have the pieces around him. That's true. But he missed clear passes, clear opportunities. There were clear opportunities that throw to Knox in overtime. There were opportunities for Josh Allen to go win a football game, and he didn't get it done. And I know I'm kind of rambling on here, but what I found fascinating about McDermott's post game, I'm standing up for Buffalo, and we didn't get that call, and no. This is not the 13 seconds. This is not the refs love Kansas City. No. You had ample opportunities to win that football game. And my heart goes out to Buffalo Bills fans. My heart goes out to Buffalo. But this is not like the other losses. And to talk about the refs, this is not the same. And we can debate, was it a catch? Was it a pick? We can debate it, but that's not why this team lost that football game.
Yeah, honestly, for me, something outside of a Super Bowl appearance, at the least, was definitely going to be a conversation piece as far as what's going to happen with McDermott. I think the fact that he's only won 1 game on the road in the playoffs, and it happened to be the year that he got canned, is a talking point. It just always seemed like if not now, when situation. And there might be something to seeing 2 tenured guys like Mike Tomlin stepping down and John Harbaugh getting fired, for them to realize, well, I mean, McDermott's been here forever too. We haven't gone to the next step with him as our coach. And I think you look at the situation that they were in this year. Golden opportunity, right? No disrespect to Denver, no disrespect to New England, but they have young signal callers who have very limited, if not no playoff experience, right? So you're saying to yourself, hey, we might have the best quarterback in the AFC going out there. So we should be at least the AFC representative if I'm a Buffalo fan, if I'm the Buffalo hierarchy above McDermott. So now fast forward to losing the game. Here's if I'm them, this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at us not having won the division this year for the first time in years, okay? In a year that, we're supposed to go, we're supposed to ascend with Kansas City not being there. We don't win the division. We have to win all road games on our way to the Super Bowl. The fact that we don't win the division and the team that did win the division has got a second-year quarterback doing it tells me that, oh, they're trying to start something. This is the beginning of something. So now you have to ask yourself, did we plateau? Did we peak with everything that we have in the office right now? Did we peak? Because we've got a team that's been perennially bad for the last 4 or 5 years, but it has a history of winning championships, and they might be back. So if they might be back, we can't stand pat. If I'm Brandon Beane, if I'm, the Pegulas, I'm looking at this, there's no way we can stand pat because we need to do everything in our in our power to prevent another 20-year run by the Patriots. And I think it started with the leadership.
My question to you, though, Joe, and I don't disagree with you. I'm the one on this show who threw out the possibility of McDermott getting fired, should he get fired. And, at the time, I'm not tooting my own horn here. At the time, I didn't hear anyone else really talking about it. It just kind of came to mind, like, shouldn't, we saw it with the Knicks a couple years ago, or just this past postseason last year, and with other situations. My question to you, though, is, Billy Beane, not only did he not get fired, but he got promoted within the organization. And my question to you is, to me, and again, like, this is my opinion. I haven't heard this or read this. This is just what I feel, what I think, is Billy Beane not getting let go. Does that tell you that McDermott had a lot to do with how this team was put together? Because to me, this was as much like this loss was not like, even with the issues on defense, and this defense every year has so many, like, everyone gets hurt on that defense every season. So that happens. But while Josh Allen still had an opportunity to go out and win that football game, and not just one opportunity, but a plethora of opportunities to win that football game, this roster was still not constructed to be a Super Bowl winning team. Like, I still stand by what I said. If this team was going to win the Super Bowl, Josh Allen had to be heroic for 4 games. So does Billy Beane not getting fired, does that tell you that McDermott was the one who kind of put this team together? And, Billy Beane obviously was part of it. I'm not suggesting he wasn't part of it at all. But for them to put this all on the shoulders of McDermott, I don't agree with.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Because Billy Beane's been there for a long time, Joe. It's not like Billy Beane's only been there for 2 years.
Yeah, I'll agree to that in a certain extent. Let's also remember that at the beginning of this, right? We had Josh Allen on a rookie contract, right? So, like, it's easy to operate when you've got a rookie contract and you can put things together around that. The money goes around a lot easier, and we could speak to this with San Francisco, the difference between San Francisco 2 years ago and San Francisco this year. Well, the difference is a lot of that defense had to go. Why? Because Brock Purdy's getting paid now. So
Yeah,
they
that's
had to
true.
go seriously younger on the defensive side. That's why they give your boy a whole lot of credit in Howie Roseman and how he was able to navigate a Super Bowl with paying the quarterback and also 2 number 1 wide receivers and a number 1 running back that they stole from my team, right? So that's kind of what you need to do now, right? Now you're in this world of how do I put this together around the 30-40% of the cap you no longer have access to. So a friend of mine in the in my sports group chat thought it was also very interesting that Bean got a promotion. And I'm gonna quote him as saying, it's crazy that this guy got a promotion with his mid-ass rosters that he's put together. And honestly, it's like he's not wrong. I mean, you look, but also, right? How much of that is trying to navigate around the 40% he no longer has access to in the cap, and how much of that is poor talent evaluation, right? How much is that, how much is each, and I think it was easier to, replace a guy who had been there almost 10 years and could never reach the mountaintop. Because you got to look at it. It's like it's always a close game here. It's always a close game here. It's only winning one game on the road. It's like, is that all the players? It was like, can't put that all on the players. This was the first year that you could say, "Oh wow, Josh was part of the problem." This is the first year you could say that in the pro season. Like, oh wow, Josh was part of the problem. He had 4 turnovers. You can't win a lot of games when your quarterbacks are into 4 turnovers. Shout out to the Lions because I think they've done it twice with Goff throwing like 5 picks. Crazy. But you can't win a lot of games with that kind of scenario. But to wrap this in a bow to your question, I think it's easier to have it be the coach in this particular scenario when it was the coach so many other places at the same time, right? There were 10 coaching opportunities at one point during this offseason. 10. It's easier to say, oh, it's the coach. My Giants did the same thing. Was it Joe Shane or was it Brian Daboll? Guess what? They got rid of Daboll and Joe Shane still has his job, and now they pick up Harbaugh. And now it's like, oh, if it doesn't work with Harbaugh, they're both gone. Right?
Yeah.
They're both gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Brandon Beane's getting the shot to kind of like marry whatever synergy he has with the head coach. I do think head coaches have input, but at the same time, you got to coach the guys that are on the field. You got to coach the guys that are on the field, and you've had 9 years of being able to coach the guys that are on the field, and you build something great, and it's been good, and it's been an awesome time, awesome ride. But when you transitioned off of this veteran-laden team, when you transitioned off of, oh, we can spend everywhere else because the quarterback's only worth this much of the cap. When they transitioned off of that, it doesn't mean that McDermott just gets a pass. He still has to coach the guys that are on the field. And you're telling me that with a top flight running back that they had, with Josh Allen, you can say what you want about the pieces around that on the outside. Hey, they had to pay other places. You got to make do. You got to make do. And you've had 9 years to make do with, whatever Brandon Beane was cooking. So, I understand the move just because I've watched my own team do it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it too. And I don't disagree with it. I guess I'm just kind of like not in shock. That's not the right way to put this, but like this loss just wasn't like the others. Like I feel like there were other losses where you could point to the rest of the team, including McDermott. You know what I mean? Like this just lost. Like, I hate to say it like this, and I hate to put it like this. It's just, this was Josh Allen, man. And it sucks to say it, like, because he's been hero mode every single year. And he's still, like, even having 4 turnovers, he still had some incredible moments in that game. It's just like, this loss wasn't like the others. You know what I mean? And it's like, for this to be the loss, like, someone had to pay a price, man. Like, this has been year after year after year of being there, and we've laid it out a million times. Again, shows across the continent have laid it out a million times. Like, this was the year to make your run. This was the year. And for it not to go down, someone had to pay the price, and it wasn't going to be Josh Allen. And it makes sense, you know. And we're gonna have all spring and summer to talk about who will fill the shoes. It's just, this was a gut-wrenching loss, and I think it was so gut-wrenching because of the fact that it wasn't like the other years. The fact that it was, you know, the other years, Josh Allen did everything that you needed him to do.
Yeah.
And this year it just wasn't that way. And so that's kind of how I feel about it. Onto the Broncos side of this. Broncos move on, and 5 minutes later we learn that Bo Nix is out, which sucks. Yeah. But talk about this from a Broncos perspective, because this is, unfortunately, this is the way that it is, man. The Broncos win, and listen, Josh Allen is the bigger story. The Bills is the bigger story. And I know if you're in Denver, you're not going to feel that way. But it is. That's just the way that it is. But talk about this from Denver. Incredible, incredible turnaround out there. Sean Payton comes in 2 years later during the conference championship. Sucks that Bo Nix isn't a part of this. We're going to talk about that game with the Pats in a little bit. But talk about this win from the Broncos' perspective.
Yeah, kind of bittersweet, right? You go toe to toe with the Buffalo Bills. You think you're in there like swimwear, everything's gonna be fine. Then you leave time on the clock, and then here we go. You're in. You blink, and you're in overtime now with a very motivated Bills team to take advantage of some big bats not standing in the way of their of a potential crowning. So listen, shout out to the Broncos sticking in there and making plays when they needed to be made. But yeah, bittersweet. You lose your signal caller, which, mind you, was in the last offensive drive for the Broncos. Nothing was wrong.
I know.
And I listen, I consume a lot of social media. I saw posts of people talking to their spouses about the game, and how they just got a tweet from Adam Schefter that said he broke an ankle, he's gone for the year. Like, what are you talking? He's doing the presser right now. What do you mean?
I know.
he's fine. What are you talking about? Right. So I think there's definitely a little shell shock. But honestly, this could be a pretty neat story. Just for the simple fact that you've got people all over doubting this Denver team, doubting Jared Stidham like he's just just garbage trash. Let us not forget, it was not that long ago that that Jared was supposed to be the next up for the Patriots. It was not that long ago that he was supposed to be the guy in between Brady and whenever they were going to be the next thing, right? Before Mac Jones was even a thing, he was the number 2, and they were very well prepared to move on with him as the number 1.
Well,
he took off.
And the fact too, Sean Payton went out and got this guy. Like this, it from like by all accounts, Sean Payton was the one who said, I want him. And if I'm not mistaken, they're paying him like pretty healthily for a backup quarterback too. No, I feel like the number in my head is like 7.5 million. I could be wrong about that, but like I feel like they went out and like paid him, pretty well to just sit on the bench, if I remember correctly.
Well,
But
I mean, he's got starting experience, right? And he's
for
been
sure,
in programs, healthy programs, as far as a team standpoint, um, I believe the number is 8 million. So you're
okay,
right there.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely a healthy backup contract for sure.
Yeah.
I think
My point's just that they were like, hey, man, here's like a good amount of money. We want you. So, he's not just some Joe Schmo coming off the bench. Like Sean Payton handpicked this guy as a backup, which shows some belief, right?
yeah, there's definitely belief in there. And like even in the presser when he was saying, hey, Stiddy's ready to go, like he knows that he prepares like a starter. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he could cook next week, even against that New England defense. But the funny thing to me that I saw on the interwebs, and it was a huge W because it was a flex, but also throwing in a wild thing into the universe. Nick Foles had a little something to say about this situation. Is like, hey, listen, if we're being real, if you want to point out a weakness for the Patriots, it's facing a backup quarterback in a
Yeah, I
meaningful
love it
game.
so much.
And I was like, that is a wild thing to say, but you are the only one that can say it.
I love it so much.
I can't even be upset with you.
No way, dude. I love it, man, because like Nick Foles, and like obviously as an Eagles fan, this made me smile. Nick Foles is just living a quiet life, preaching the gospel, like just doing his thing. And then this comes up and he's like, oh, hey guys, remember when I like just threw 44 points on the on the Pats in the Super Bowl and like outdueled Tom Brady? Remember that? Okay, I'm gonna go back to my pulpit now. See you later. I love it so much.
That was wild. But I say that to say it's like, listen, Denver's got a really good defense. And I really like Harvey as a running back, even though he's not he's probably not prepared for this magnitude. I believe he's gonna be prepared to play. And I think he's gonna give them some semblance of a run game. They're stable of backs, Jaleel McLaughlin. I don't believe that Denver's just completely out just because of that situation. And the line tells me that it's not believed that they're completely out. I believe the line, we'll get to it, but I want to say the last time I looked at it was like 4.5. And I was like, that seems like a line that's not completely
yeah. I mean,
stupid in
it's
their
up
base.
to 5.5. It's up to 5.5. And yeah, we'll get into it a bit more. Well, I don't 5.5 bothers me because it just feels like people are gonna be pumping Denver on
Yucky.
that plus all week. Yeah, well,
it's a yucky number.
Because I'm the host, I'm gonna say something and not let you rebuttal until we get to I'm gonna use my powers for evil and not good. Listen, I don't like betting this game simply because I don't know, like, +5 reasonable. Will Denver be able to put up points? I just know that Drake May is running for his life like every week. And like I don't like, and this Denver defense is just, you know what I mean? Like that O-line for New England is come see, come saw, you know what I mean? So we'll get into it. All right, moving on to really the only other game, like to me, I think the Seahawks, I good on them. The luck was bound to run out for the Niners. George Kittle not being a part of it, obviously, a lot to do with it. I just think this Seahawks defense, I just feel like all season long, and maybe it's just me, maybe other people like watching the show, listening to the show would disagree with me. I just feel like all season long, there were defenses that were being talked up, like Denver, like Houston, like the Eagles, like other defenses. And people have been sleeping on the Seahawks defense, dude. And once again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are everyone's been talking about the Seahawks defense, but in my world, it's been really quietly one of the best defenses in the league. The Packers defense, and I know that San Francisco had a bunch of injuries and whatever. And can I just say something? As I am, and again, maybe this is a biased, bitter Eagles fan talking. Not just from the past weekend, but when we beat the Niners to go to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs the first time, you lost. You lost. Okay. Every time the Niners lose, there are reasons. And it's this happened and blah, blah. The Niners can't just lose a football game. It always has to be because of something. And you know what? They're right. It always is because of something, but you still lost. And I'm tired of hearing about, if we
had a running back throwing a football, bro. There's
no
way you can still be on that.
I know.
They had no quarterback.
I know, but guess what? You still lost again. That's what I'm saying. It's just a completely bitter bias. I'm just sick of hearing about it. But anyway, doesn't matter. I know that I'm wrong, but I still feel strongly about how I feel. All right.
You should. Your feelings are valid.
LA, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. You are heard, you are loved, you are seen. All right. Chicago, LA, man. Like this is one, and I'm not all about kind of, moral victories and rah lose a game. I've just thought Chicago, man, like at the end of the day, the LA Rams have, and they found a way to win a football game. Not Sean McVay's brightest spot by any means. I thought I'm not going to say he was outcoached. That's not fair. But I don't think he made a lot. Like, he made some decisions that I thought really put the Rams in a tough spot. I thought overall Chicago defense, man, they were ready to party, man. And I just, with the weapons that like the Rams have, I was so impressed with Chicago. I thought Caleb Williams looked like a quarterback who was in his first playoff run, right? Not the best game by him. Obviously, that touchdown at the end of the game, like, dude, that is just, that touchdown was the staple of what this season has been for Chicago. Like, that was it, man. Like, that was the season
right there.
Oh, my goodness.
The fact that it was right here, and then you see what he looked like, but the ball is still right here.
Oh, bruh. Dude.
Talk about throwing it to a spot.
And dude, like that was Komet, right? If I remember correctly, he was wide open. And I know that like the D-back for the Rams was saying push off or whatever, but I don't know about that. But like, oh my gosh, man, like that. I'm scared. Simply, what we've been seeing from Stroud after his rookie year. Daniels, in Washington.
Yeah. Valid.
He was hurt a lot.
Valid.
Like he was hurt a lot this year, but there are this sophomore, or I guess this was a sophomore season, but you know what I mean. You come out as a young quarterback, the league kind of figures you out, and things don't look great the next year. But I'm really excited for the Chicago fans. I'm really excited for that team. I'm really excited for the Green Bay, Detroit, like that division, the rivalries in that division. It's going to be a really fun division for a long time. I'm pumped for the Bears, man, and I know they lost the game. I know it stings. Magical season. It felt like the magic was, and I picked the Bears and the Pats to go to the Super Bowl. I really thought the Bears had something here. Um, and at the end of the day, the Rams just did that much more to get the win. But man, like again, it's the opposite of the Buffalo. Right? Like Buffalo is the story because of the negativity of it. And I feel like Chicago is the story here because of the positivity. Like, yes, you lost the game. Yes, we can nitpick on the offense. But man, what a run by the Bears. And they deserve to win that football game, even though didn't they didn't deserve to win it, but they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The vibe all season was super lit
Oh,
for the Bears.
yes,
Just
man.
after close win after close win after close win, you just see that locker room just band together, band together, band together. Uh, I don't think it's out of pocket to say that Caleb Williams is eccentric. We'll say he's a personality, he's a vibe in himself as a number one QB, but like you can't understate the kind of like professionalism, the kind of maturity that he's shown in press conferences, dealing with the losses, dealing with the wins equally. Um, when he's asked a question, it's always a very kind of like thorough knowing exactly what the guys what the reporter's talking about, and he's just letting them know, hey, listen, this is what we were looking at. This, like, year 1 to year 2 as a pro for
Yes.
Caleb, 100% love what he is, his makeup, his maturity, just understanding how to be a pro on and off the field, with the pressers, all of it. Just love, love, love. And it just, to me, dictates, it just shows just how dysfunctional the first hierarchy that got a hold of him was in comparison to where he is
Oh
now.
yeah.
I feel like he's got adults in the room who know what they're doing. I feel like all the investments they've made on the offensive line, all the investments they've made around him to give him the best possible chance to succeed. 2 tight ends that can light it up at any point. Um, Also great blocking, because you don't get 200-yard rushers in a game if your tight ends and wide receivers can't block the outside. So they've they've given him the structure to succeed. And I think they're ahead of schedule. The fact that they got to where they got, I think they're ahead of schedule, me personally. So good on them. I will agree with you and say that I think Chicago's more of the story here, just because the Rams, we have a certain level of expectation that they would be at this point of the season, because of
Oh
what we
yeah.
saw in them in the regular season. The fact that Stafford, for just as many weeks as Drake May has been, pigeonholed as the MVP this season, you kind of expect that the Rams would have been in this place ahead of time. But the fact that Chicago is even in the conversation, the fact that they even hosted a playoff game, never mind that they made the playoffs, the fact that they hosted important games this season is already well beyond where I thought they would be this season. So yeah, my takeaway for me is I'm glad that I was right, because rule number 8 in the book of Joe is there are a few things that I enjoy more than being right. I'm glad my Super Bowl matchup is still in play, but I'm loving the vibes from Chicago, and I'm looking forward to seeing this North Division moving forward.
Oh man, 100%. And I think the difference here between Williams and Stroud and Daniel, where that I previously alluded to is that in both of the other quarterbacks, we saw the immediate rise and then the regression, right? Where Williams last year, like, if you were skeptical heading into this season, that was very understandable,
Valid.
right? Like, that was very valid. And yes, there was the hope of Ben Johnson, but even then, new coach, new head coach, comfortable as a coordinator. What are we going to see? And the fact that they made this jump, I think, is just beautiful. And we'll see what happens with the next year. And to your point, man, like not only with what we saw this season, the Rams were a lot of people's Super Bowl pick before the season even started. And there's a lot of conversation after the postseason last year where if they didn't lose in the divisional round, like they very well may have, if not won the Super Bowl, at least made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very valid point, facing a Washington team in the conference championship and, seeing how the Chiefs were played in the Super Bowl, there's a very good chance that the Rams could have won last year. And so, to kind of see what we saw this past weekend is a beautiful thing. Is there anything else, the Pats? It's just, listen, Houston just, like, the Pats won that football game, okay? The fact that the score was what it was, though, with the amount of turnovers that the Texans had, the Texans just didn't want to win that football game. And obviously they did. I'm being facetious, but like that was just, I don't have a lot to say about this, man. The Pats took advantage as much as they needed to. They should have won by more. And the Texans just really just put that game in the Pats' lap.
Yeah, I will say definitely when you look back at the game, one of the things that I'm noticing, the talking heads saying, especially Dan Orlovsky, I heard Houston wins that game with one of 31 other quarterbacks. Is the comment that he made, kind of like shading CJ Stroud, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like, yeah, he's been up and down all season, right? Like Davis Mills, I mean, he came in and did an amazing job to even get the ship righted so that he can come back from injury and then just get them the rest of the way. But
yeah. Well, there was conversation at the half about Mills coming in. Like, should they replace
which is wild,
Stroud,
right? But
yeah,
wild. But you see him go out there, and then that game, I think it was against the was it the Jaguars, that they were down heavy, and then Davis Mills had a fourth quarter for the ages, and they come back and win that game, and then it starts the run. It started the run they were on to finish the season and make the playoffs. And to me, it's like, we saw a sophomore slump last year. And then this year just felt like, man, I will say this, though. Offensively speaking, specifically to that offensive line, in the offseason, if they shore that up the way Chicago shored it up for Caleb Williams, I would like to see where CJ is as a quarterback. I would just like to see that. Am I putting it all on the offensive line? No. But you also got to count the fact that New England's a really good defense. So it's like, even with a stout offensive line, maybe at least half those interceptions still happen. And I will say Houston did play a little bit better overall in that O-line moving forward. But they stopped the run. They were not running the football. They were forcing CJ to win that game. And with that offensive line and the kind of weapons that they have, the only outside threat they had is Nico. Everyone else is more intermediates. Higgins, the draft pick, They're more guys kind of like in the middle. They're intermediate route guys. They're not burners. This I would have loved to see them with Tank Dell on the outside with Nico Collins. What happens then? But listen, woulda, coulda, shoulda. They played with what they got, and it just wasn't good enough. The quarterback play was definitely not good enough because that defense did give them opportunities more often than not to win that game. And so yeah, they'll have to work. They'll have things to work on next year for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Before we get into the conference championship games, let's briefly touch on. I feel like we're gonna after next week, or I guess next week, we're gonna have more time with a couple weeks away. We are gonna have more time. We do have to start wrapping the show up. So let's just quickly kind of touch on this. The coaching carousel continues. John Harbaugh, your guy, you wanted him, you got him. Robert Saleh quickly, like a day after they lose, or 2 days after they lose in San Fran, he is hired by the Titans. Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta. Give me your quick thoughts on the recent hirings across the NFL.
Yeah, listen, the Robert Saleh one is very interesting because he went into a situation with the Jets that did not look great.
No.
And then they had the promise with the whole Aaron Rodgers thing after the Wilson debacle, and it still didn't go great. So it's very interesting to me that he would choose this this position. Now that I don't know if he was a finalist anywhere else. I don't know if he had other things in the bag. Maybe he said, "Hey, listen, after my Jets experience, I really can't be picky with which job I take." So, and that makes sense. If you think about it, that definitely does make sense. It's like, who am I to turn down this opportunity I'm being given when I had the run that I had with the Jets? So, but listen, he's got a quarterback, and that's 40% of the battle right there. You gotta have a quarterback and a young one at that for the AFC. Because if you don't have a young quarterback in the AFC with those young guns, the Patriots in May, Bo Nix in Denver, if you don't have a young quarterback ready to go, you got no shot. You've got no shot up against the Josh Allens, the Joe Burrows, the Lamar Jacksons, the Mahomes, who's only 30, okay? Like, you got no shot if you don't have a young quarterback. So I get it. I get it for him there. Harbaugh was the expectation with the Giants. They moved on him early. Harbaugh supposedly was in on the if as soon as he got dismissed, thought a blue blood franchise like the Giants would be appealing. They have a young quarterback. They have a defense that can be worked on. Hopefully they get a DC that's really good at working with corners because that is their weakness. I would love to see someone who's a former DB coach, someone that specializes with the secondary just because they have the pass rushers already. So I think if someone that can work directly with the secondary, identify what we can do better there, that's great. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't think Stefanski would get a job this soon. I know he's a 2-time coach of the year. I understand that. I get that. But to still have the stench of what was the Cleveland experience and the whole how that worked out with the quarterback situation tells me, the fact that they made this hiring tells me that the league at large is putting that on the Haslams. They're putting that on Andrew Berry.
Because as they should.
Which,
oh man,
fine, perfectly fine. Because he had an amazing time with Joe Flacco one year and took the team to the playoffs. So, like, that I think is his saving grace. The fact that happened was like, oh man, he took Joe Flacco and this defense to the playoffs.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh, maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe he does know what he's doing. And personally, I think that O-line got super old on him too, so that really didn't help matters. And then that last opening with the Dolphins and Jeff Hadley makes total sense. Their new runner of football comes from the Packers, so there's a familiarity there. Hadley was gonna be a hot commodity, even though his last game does not reflect well on his defense. He was missing his best piece, so maybe there's a little grace given there. But it makes sense, Packers guy, another Packers guy. And let's see what they do moving forward.
Listen, man. So first of all, just quickly out of the way, my personal opinion. This is whatever. It's my opinion. I think Miami is a mess, regardless of the coach they bring in. Atlanta, I think they have really good bones there, but I still don't. I have a bad taste in my mouth with that franchise right now, and a lot of that has to do with the coaching. So we'll see. Kevin Stefanski, listen, man. Like, yeah, it wasn't perfect for him. I think just like the Deshaun Watson thing alone, that alone, I will absolve Kevin Stefanski of anything. Like that whole situation was just so ridiculous, and it's just what, like, dude, where is that guy? They're still paying him a fortune, guaranteed. Guaranteed, 100% guaranteed. Yeah. And where is he? There are a million jokes. Oh, yeah. There are jokes for days about where that guy is right now and what he's getting up to with that 200 million just chilling. We could go on for a while about that. I love this for Robert Saleh. I'm really happy for him. I don't think he deserved to get fired when he got fired when it came to the Jets. Him getting fired from New York was inevitable, just with the way that franchise is run and kind of how it was going. But when he got fired, I really disagreed with it. I thought their defense was playing well, and you said it, man. His side of the ball was okay, and
they got worse when he left.
And of course it did. Of course it did. Yeah. So I didn't like it when they fired him. I don't think that was the time. And listen, the Titans, yeah, it's a flawed roster. But we talked about this, man. There were a lot of situations throughout this season where the losses were worse because of coaching decisions, specifically right before the half. That happened. It felt like it happened every week. And would they have won those games if the coaching decisions were better? I don't know. But the losses were worse because of coaching decisions. So I'm really happy for Robert Saleh. I think that they have pieces there in Tennessee. Does this make them a playoff contender? I don't know if that's true. I'm sure there will be certain people in the media who will get themselves all horned up for the Titans before September. But I am really happy for him, and I do think that team needs a real head coach, and they didn't have it with Brian Callahan. So I'm happy to see it. All right, let's move on to the divisional round. Like I said, next week, there's obviously no game to preview. The Super Bowl is, as everyone knows, 2 weeks after the conference championship. So next week, there will be lots of time to get into the coaching situations and all of that. Starting with the New England Patriots, it's just hilarious to me. Like, the city of Boston, I know you've had some heartbreaking losses in Red Sox land, and there's been some questionable penalties in, Boston Bruins land throughout, but this city, they don't know what it's like, man. They just don't know what it's like. One team falls, another rises. It's just doesn't like this. You have Tom Brady for 20 years, and how long were you awful for? 5 minutes.
Not long enough.
No way, dude. Now, I don't care. I like to see greatness. It doesn't matter to me, but it's just hilarious to see.
Phillip Rivers got off the walker and the tractor to try to win one because the Patriots kicked his butt for his whole time in
I know
the Chargers.
I know. And here they are again from the ashes. And it's funny that saying from the ashes weren't even cool yet. Yeah. Like the ashes weren't even cold. They were still like ambers remaining. Yeah. And here they are. New England and like I know we talked about Stidham, talk about this defense. Bo Nix is out. It's not even like they're. Not only are they back,
gift wraps.
I know. Not only are they back, but they're 5.5-point favorites on the road. New England Patriots minus 5.5, minus 104. Denver Broncos plus 5.5, minus 118. Minus 250 on the money line of the Pats, plus 205 on the money line of the Broncos. Total 42.5, minus 110 both ways. Where are you at here, man? I already laid it out. The plus 5.5 feels very tempting. I question the 5.5 because on the New England side or on the Broncos side, simply because I don't know, man. Like I already laid out the case earlier in the show. I appreciate that Stidham was handpicked by Peyton. Peyton clearly has a belief in this player, in this system. Like you said, sure, Dobbins out, but they still have good running backs. They have, decent enough, like there is a roadmap. We just haven't seen it. And I just don't know. This New England defense is good. Now the Denver defense is very good, and that O-line for the Pats is super leaky. So there's really, I could go my lean with the rest of North America, it feels like, is Denver plus 5.5. I just haven't seen this offense enough to put my money on it. I just don't know what we're getting from Stidham. And it feels like a classic case of overthinking our way into a Denver plus 5.5 and the Pats win by 2 touchdowns. I just don't know where to go with this. Where are you?
Man, that Pats defense is kind of ridiculous. Okay, it's a serious issue, and I think they're really feeling themselves after what they did to CJ Stroud and that offense last week. Listen, I don't think it's going to be a 10-point victory or 14-point victory. I think the Denver defense is going to try to keep them in it. The problem is that I just saw them give up what they gave up against the Bills, and the Bills, Allen had to be Superman. Okay, Allen had to be Superman, and as much as he turned the ball over, they still scored points. And Cook looked pretty good. And they've got 2 backs over there in New England where one's going to hammer you and one's going to hit the home run. Like, all it takes is Travion to get one hole and he's out of there. So that's where I'm kind of like, I'm leaning New England for the win. But I'm also leaning them minus the 5.5. I don't think it's going to be 10 or 14, but 7 isn't unreasonable to think that they could win by a touchdown.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I am rooting for New England here, as much as I joke about them, coming back and rising from the ashes that are still hot and all that stuff. I am rooting. I really like Henderson. I know that, like, Stevenson too, man. What a revival for this guy.
And they needed him last week too. Henderson wasn't hitting the home runs, but Stevenson's the hammer, and he got the tough yards,
big time. And I as much as I think he's kind of overhyped in a lot of ways, I am a really big Vrabel fan. I didn't like how he was let go in Tennessee, and I'm really happy for him. The fan base can, they can.
Yeah, I know.
I don't, I don't want
I've
to be
taken it
too
on the chin
cruel.
quite a few times
Yeah,
from the fan base.
the fan base, I could care less about, but the team, I'm really happy for, and
Oh,
I think minus 250, unless you're a heavy better, that's way too juicy. But I'm curious, you know, if you parlay it with a Sox win, it's plus 132. If you parlay it with a Rams win, it's plus 219. And I think that's pretty fun to put the money line on a parlay with
why not?
either the
Two
Rams
games.
or the Seahawks. You get kind of plus money either way. And moving on to that Rams Seahawks game. Seahawks at home, minus 2.5. Rams plus 2.5, minus 114 for the Hawks on the spread, minus 106 for the Rams, minus 152 on the Seahawks money line, plus 128 for the Rams, to total 47.5, minus 105 on the over, minus 115 for the under. Playoff games and totals, especially this deep in the playoffs, I don't really vibe with. I'm having a hard time with this one too, man. I really, last year I felt very strongly on the Eagles and the Chiefs. I was very, very strong. And both these situations, even though I do think the Patriots win this game, I'm still not sold on it. I do think that plus 205, if you want to take a sprint plus 205 for Denver, I understand it. I'm the same way with this game, man. I think the Rams with that offense, I I I with I don't know how you feel about this, man, but with this game, with the 2.5, I just feel like either way that you feel here, just throw it down on the money line. If you're feeling Rams, if you're feeling Seahawks, this is a money line play either way for me. And I I I said it earlier, the Seahawks defense has been dominant and they have been terrific for the better part of the season. I they have the weapons. Now, the running back room was cut in half, was it not? If I saw that correctly?
Yeah, Charbonnet's out for the year.
Yeah.
It's
And that's
not great.
and listen, Walker is a very good running back, but they rely on that 1-2 punch, much like New England does. And so that concerns me. Obviously, the receivers they have, specifically one guy, JSN, that's your money maker. The weapons that the Rams have on offense, I just can't get away from it, man. And I know that this Seahawks defense is dominant. Sam Darnold has done nothing but find ways to win games. I find it really hard to not take Stafford in this spot. And I I don't know, like I love Seattle. I think they can win. I wouldn't be shocked if they win, but there's just a part of me that just in this spot, Stafford versus Darnold, the Rams defense isn't as dominant as it used to be, but there are no slouches over there. Um, I have a hard time not taking the Rams in this spot.
Yeah, listen, here's the thing. So they both put up points the last time they faced, and it took a outer body effort, in my opinion, by Sam Darnold to come out of that last one with a victory. And a lot of people point to that game as the moment where he's like, "Oh, wait." It was like that one Minnesota game where they celebrated him in the locker room and they gave him the water bath, and you see KOC in the corner just smiling like, "Look at that guy. Oh, look at that guy." not gonna have him next year, but look at him. Look at him. Like that was his like Seattle moment, if you will, winning that game against the Rams. And I think when you see each other 3 times in a calendar year, like I feel like you know everything about the other team. I feel like there may be some wrinkles that you may or may not do. Just you save for a rainy day. Like the Philly, right? Like one of those things. Like you just cook up when you absolutely need it, absolutely have to have it. Um, I don't believe there's going to be any surprises in this game by either team. I don't believe this game is going to be in the 40s or in the high 30s like it was last game. I think this is going to be in the trenches type situation. I think whoever's offensive line plays better wins the game. And I think if the Rams are smart, they just don't let Darnold on the field. They don't let Darnold on the field.
Yeah.
They don't let Kenneth Walker on the field. You got Blake Corum. You've got Kyron Williams. You've got 2 really tall wide receivers that should be able to beat any one-on-one matchup on the outside. Even as good as Seattle's defense is, I will say that I believe the weakness is in the secondary position outside of Imanuri. I do believe those corners can get got with their size. And let us not forget that Puka went for nuclear the last time they faced. I think it was like 12 catches, 200 something yards, a couple of tuds. I think he's going to be ready. And I'm with you as far as picking this game. Anything sub 3 is a money line for me. That's the equivalent of a pick 'em for me. If you believe a team's going to win, just take them at the money line when it's sub 3. I wouldn't even bother teasing it at a different number. Just take a money line. I'm gonna take a money line just because this was my Super Bowl pick before the playoffs started, Rams Patriots. So I'm gonna stick to that.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And this is a great. I think what I really do like about this is like, as much as we talked about it with the Pats in Denver, like it does feel like this could go either way, like a really close game for New England, Denver, or the Pats could win by 10 plus points. I just feel like either way, this is going to be a really good game in Denver. Sorry, both games. I mean, like both. It's going to be a great day of football, and I'm really looking forward to it. All right. Everybody, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code SPORTS10, 10% off any sports card in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have a WWE, WWF sale, 25% off selected cards. And with our promo code SPORTS10, you get an additional 10% off. So 35% off selected wrestling cards and 10% off any card in the store. Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Shout out to them as always for having us on board. Next week, we will be back. We will, of course, talk about what transpires on championship weekend, and we will talk more about the ongoings of the offseason as we get closer and closer to no more football, man. It's sad times, especially when your teams aren't involved anymore. It's just like, man,
when's the draft?
Yeah. And you know what's funny, man? Like for me specifically, you are not like this. And a lot of football fans in the United States are not like this. But for me, once the Super Bowl is over, it's over. Like we can talk about free agents. We can, when we get to like mid-July, then I start getting fired up and we start doing division previews. But the draft, don't know, don't care. I trust in Howie. We'll be okay. I don't know any of these players, man.
To be placing.
Yeah, like when we do our draft preview, which we will do, you will be accompanied by other guests, and I will just be simply like moderating. Like I don't know, it'll be you. Maybe Andre will get back on board. Yeah, maybe our guy, Jordan, who just vanished, hung out with us all year and now just poof, doesn't care anymore. Maybe he's bitter because I keep forgetting to have him on the show. That's right. That's rightfully so. Yeah. So we will be chatting next week. The NHL show will be back this week. I don't know when, so just stay tuned to the socials. Also, next week will be a busy week in Solder on Sportsland. Hockey show, football show, and my guy Tom will be back. We'll be talking some baseball as we get closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting. Lots of off-season, pretty much all the big fish off the board for the most part. Looking some baseball leading up to spring training, which is, dude, like a month away from spring training. It is insane. And I really did think that, when the Blue Jays lost, I really did think that this year was a special year and they're going to suck next year. And I got blindsided because I'm friggin' stoked for this Blue Jays season. And
they're spending, brother. They're spending.
I know. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, I like that they're spending, but I don't like what's happening in my heart. It's messing with me. And I don't like it. All right, everybody. Once again, thank you so much for hanging out. We will see you next week. First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTS10, Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.